Huh? So it's recording. Fabulous. Excellent. How much time do we have? 20 minutes. No, this is great. Okay, so, and I see a few people kind of looking over here and stuff. If you can hear me, if you can hear my voice, come gather around, because actually we're going to jump into some really cool stuff here as we're talking about technology in your practice here in the TechifEye Pavilion. So it's going to start with asking a question. A simple question. Why are we so fascinated by technology?
Technology is awesome.
Because technology is awesome. Makes life easier. Leverage. Yes. Yes, yes, and yes. Right? So look, we can explore all these different reasons why we're so fascinated by technology. It is certainly the creative capacity of technology. Perhaps technology's ability to improve and scale operations. And obviously, as we find technology's ability to simplify so many processes and systems. A widely published author and business ethics professor, Professor Nick Capaldi, when writing about technological progress, identifies technology and our fascination with technology as being rooted in the fact that tech is this spiritual quest of modernity, right? Now you might think for yourself, like, what does spirituality and technology have to do with one another? Which, by the way, Professor Capaldi is anything but blasphemous here. He's actually a very devoutly religious man. And what he sees is that technology is what gets us closer to this absolute potential that we can achieve collectively, right? So whether we're looking at it from a standpoint of technology connotates this sort of integrative union with a larger oneness, certainly connectivity and belonging in pursuit of this higher potential. So here we are at Vision Expo, and we're standing here or sitting here in the TechifEye Pavilion amongst some really marvelous technologies. And we do all stand here in kind of fascination of exactly what this is capable of. And I would contend that there are three radical trends occurring in our industry right now, the likes of which we find these technologies can come to be extremely valuable, right? And the first is this. You know, we all know lifestyle choices, environmental factors, and longevity are continuing to drive up the need for vision and medical eye care. And to meet that need, we're seeing scope of care for doctors continues to advance at a radical rate, right? Now, certainly we see this reflected with patient behavior and how they seek care in that private practices, those that are practicing the full scope of care of their license are actually comprising some 70% of the professional services that are occurring right now in eye care. However, they are collecting a mere 46% of industry revenue, right? So consider for a moment how technology can serve that private practitioner in engaging their patients and growing their business. The second trend has to do with consumer behavior, right? And as we all, patients and otherwise, increasingly seek and are impacted by merchandising and convenience in our purchasing decisions, well, it's no wonder when we look at the trends here in the eye care industry, the degree to which we're seeing in-office conversion rates are dipping to all-time lows. We're also seeing that internet and e-commerce is now the primary growth driver of our industry, right? And then there's a third trend. And the third trend has to do with the changing face of the workplace. You know, we reflect on last year, some 60% of practices reported being understaffed. And we know that workforce engagement, unfortunately, is at an all-time low. And in part what drives that are the complexities and the friction that is incumbent of getting through the day-to-day tasks of operating a practice, right? So again, we sit here in all this technology because we come to realize that indeed, technology can ease a lot of those burdens for our teams. So for the next few minutes, what I'd really like to share with you all is a process, a method that you can use when figuring out exactly how to implement a successful tech strategy in your practice. And for that matter, you'll note that what we're going to speak through here in this method can really be applied to any area of practice management. We call this method analyze, strategize, implement. What this is really all grounded is in is making data-informed business decisions around which to develop a strategy and a plan and implement that strategy for success, right? So the first step of that is going to be analyze. And analyze is all about shining a light on your practice to identify and prioritize the opportunities most applicable to you. Now, there are three primary items included in this analysis phase. The first is going to be your practice insights, right? Assessing your practice through and through in conversions across patient segments, as well as in workflows across the scope of clinical and retail operations. Understand what's going on in your practice, where the patient conversions stand, and also where perhaps there are bottlenecks in your operations. Next to practice insights is going to be industry research. And I don't know about you all, but I'm a huge fan of learning from other people's experiences, right? So particularly as you look to expand your scope of care, incorporate technology into your practice, read the journals, familiarize yourself with what works very well, and connect yourself with those doctors and those influencers who may have had success with the technology or the plan. Third, certainly last but not least, although something that is oftentimes overlooked, is going to be internal priorities. Now, when we refer to internal priorities, we're referring here to the fact that there are many things going on in your practice that may not necessarily be captured in the numbers, right? So whereas practice analytics and industry trends can be validated right there objectively in the numbers, internal priorities are going to be those soft inputs, those the insights that can only be gleaned by you as a practice owner, boots on the ground in your practice. But when you put it all together, you'll notice that your practice level data, inclusive of industry trends and inclusive of other internal priorities that may be arising, can really give you a firm footing upon which to make your decision moving forward. So once this analyze step is achieved, we now step into the next phase, and that is strategize. And strategize is all about constructing a stakeholder-centric action plan. Now, how many of you have perhaps attempted to deploy something in your practice and it didn't quite take off the way you were hoping it would? Yes. See all these hands going up around here. No, but truly, what it all boils down to is that when we do have a plan we put in place that doesn't take off, you basically realize that the three-legged stool that supports successful implementation, one of those three legs ain't quite standing up. And those three legs are going to be your people, your patients, and your practice, right? So when we talk about strategically developing a stakeholder-centric action plan, it's developing that action plan that is supported by your people, by your patients, and by your practice. So as it pertains to your people, this harkens back to modern leadership, management, and communication theory, which is really embracing this idea of servant leadership. As a matter of fact, my mentor, Professor Michelle Johnson, recently published a book on this very topic, the seismic shift in leadership, and she goes into detail regarding some principles of servant leadership. So you see, we would purport that the first step of constructing a practical stakeholder-centric action plan is to have your people, your team's best interests at heart. Eliminate mundanity from their day-to-day. What can you do to help them show up and live their best life in the workplace? The second stakeholder that is key to recognize and incorporate into how we're creating this stakeholder-centric action plan is going to be your patients. Now, obviously, this goes without saying, we should be striving through and through every step of the way to absolutely delight patients. Through engagement, through attraction, through retention, do everything in your power to delight patients and modernize their experience. And the third key stakeholder, when we're talking about constructing this stakeholder-centric action plan, is going to be your practice. Gone are the days of set it and forget it business management. It's about being actively engaged in monitoring your business. And obviously, any plan that is best for your business is going to be that which is going to have a positive impact on the bottom line. So when you put those three stakeholders together, again, your people, your patients, and your practice financials, you come to realize that you can construct a plan that, wow, you talk about engagement of said stakeholders, it can really lead to remarkable things. So we've gone through step one, which is analyze. We've gone through step two, strategize, developing that stakeholder-centric action plan. Step number 3 to successful implementation is implement. It is the implementation stage. And there are 3 principles here. The first of this is to identify in the practice your change champion and your change agents. So you can think of it this way. The change champion is going to be that person in your practice, in your business, that you can delegate this item to, this responsibility to, this opportunity to, and know that they are going to run with it and they are going to own it. Your change agents then are going to then be the folks who directly report to them or otherwise work within that department. So again, the first key step to successful implementation is getting the engagement of identifying and getting engagement of a change champion as well as change agents. The second key step for successful implementation is about setting SMART goals. Goals that are specific, measurable, action-oriented, relevant, and timely. Now, if you think back to our first step in the process, that analyze phase, and we're talking about digging into the data analytics of your practice, also assess and understand industry trends. If we've done a good job in step 1, then when it's time to establish SMART goals in step 3, much of what we're seeking has already been there as a part of the process, right? So again, we're talking about successful implementation, assigning a change champion, assigning and engaging change agents. We then get into establishing these SMART goals. And the third piece, follow-up. Don't just follow up. Follow up, follow up, follow up. Daily check-ins with your change champions. Advise daily check-ins with your agent, your change agents as well, right? Weekly team meetings, if not daily check-ins in the early stage of adoption. So just be sure that everyone's on the same page. But when you put those 3 keys together with this implementation stage, again, identifying your change champion, your change agents, establishing SMART goals, and the follow-up, 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 it really is a method that when you apply it not only to adoption of technology, but any aspect of practice management and operations can really set yourself up for success. So we hope you found this valuable and engaging and bid you a wonderful Vision Expo 2022. My name's Erich signing off. And stick around. We've got some great speakers here at the TechifEye Pavilion later this afternoon, all day tomorrow. Take care. Is it good? Oh wait, it wasn't recording? Oh, we gotta do it again. Thank you, sir. It was great.
It is going. Lucky.
It is beer o'clock.
Yes,
Hey,
here.
thank y'all so much for playing along. This was great.